Hey guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. This one is for November 20th, 2013. Only a week away from Thanksgiving, guys. Well, here in the United States anyway. I don't know if the the holidays are different in other countries, although they probably are. One day I have to quit these things. They tell you it's no good for you, but then again they tell you drinking beer's not good for you, and too many fat juicy steaks aren't good for you, and hell, I mean, some people even tell you sex isn't good for you, and I can't see how it hurts. But anyway, sorry about not posting a video last week, guys. Okay, I was kind of busy, had a lot of other things going on with work and the family, and getting the house squared away for winter, breaking up leaves so the kids can jump in them and things like that. And honestly, I didn't really have anything to talk about last week. Didn't have any updates or anything because all the brews I did were in various stages of being complete. But I do have updates for you this week. First update is I bottled my brown sugar maple syrup ale. Okay, now it's been in the bottles for 6 days, and it's not overly carbonated yet, so I don't really want to open this. I will let it sit for 2 more weeks just to make sure it's fully carbonated, and it'll give the beer time to clear out a little bit, and I'll do a taste test for you guys. Now, I'm curious about this for a number of different reasons. One, I've never done a 1 gallon batch of beer where I had to do a 60-minute boil and add hops, and I added a 1/4 ounce of hops at 60 minutes, and I added a 1/4 ounce of hops towards the end of the boil. I don't remember if it was at 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or flame out. I'd have to check my my notes for that. But I'm curious about it being too bitter, or if the finishing hops will overpower the the brown sugar and maple syrup flavor. I'm also really interested to see exactly how much of that brown sugar and maple flavor actually stayed in the beer. I know a couple of guys did batches of beer with honey, and the honey flavor really didn't stick around, and I'm hoping that's not the case with this beer, but in time we shall find out. Now, this beer, this is my Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone, okay, and a couple of interesting things about this. I used the yeast that I scavenged out of half a dozen bottles of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, put it in the starter, grew that, and then I threw that into another starter to grow it even more. I pitched it into this beer, and then nothing happened. For 2 days, nothing. And I was getting worried that it wasn't going to work, and I was almost ready to throw in a fresh packet of US-05 when all of a sudden it just went spastic. I mean, on day 3, the airlock was just like... If anybody has any experience using turbo yeast, and you've seen how violent the airlock activity is, that gives you a pretty good idea of how this was fermenting. I was actually worried about getting a blowout because I didn't know if the yeast was a top fermenting or a bottom fermenting strain. But I didn't get a blowout, and on days 3, 4, and 5, it was kind of scary. You know what I mean? Like every time I walked by it, I always just had like looking at it sideways to make sure everything was okay. It settled down to what I would consider normal airlock activity on day 6, and by the end of the 8th day, nothing. All airlock activity stopped, and I was worried about having a stuck fermentation or whatnot. So on day number 10, I cracked open the lid. I took a hydrometer reading, and guess what? The gravity was 1.002. Yeah, 1.002. And I was amazed. I've never had a beer yeast attenuate to a gravity that low. I checked a couple of calculators on Brewer's Friend, and the attenuation apparently was 96%. And I mean I think that's actually outrageous for a beer. So because the gravity is low, it's kind of thin. As you can see, it has no head retention whatsoever. Now, of course, the recipe didn't call for any dextrin grains, so I wouldn't expect the head to stick around. And it's really dry, but I'm starting to babble. So anyway, once I took the gravity reading, found out it was 1.002. I racked it into a carboy, and then I added the two-part clearing agents that's popular for wine, the Curacil and Chitosane. I let that sit for 2 more days, and it cleared out wonderfully. I racked it into my keg. It's been sitting in my refrigerator at 30 degrees under 18 psi of pressure for the last 2 days, and I don't know if you can see it or not. It's only slightly carbonated. Yeah, you're not going to see that. It's only slightly carbonated, and I'm actually thinking about turning the pressure up to 25 and leaving it alone for 2 more days, and then checking it. And once it reaches the carbonation level that I'm happy with, well, naturally I'll turn it down to serving pressure, which for me is 5 psi. I found out that at least for my system, and I mean I only use a picnic tap, if I go much over 5 psi for serving pressure, what I end up with is a glass full of foam with a very small amount of beer at the bottom, and then you have to sit around and wait forever for it to to calm down. And if you try to top off your glass, you just get foam because the beer is pouring out too fast. Anyway, cheers, guys. Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know if I got the color spot on or not. I don't have a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale right now to compare it to. I do believe it's just a tad bit darker than the real thing. It has a dry finish. I mean, like after you swallow, your mouth pretty much just goes dry. Which is it's different. It's not unpleasant, but it's different. Now, when it first hits your tongue, you get wonderful hop flavors. It's not overly bitter, but it's not a Budweiser either. And I mean, it's just like a mountain of hop flavor. And as soon as you swallow, the hop flavor dissipates or like vanishes completely. Your mouth goes dry, and you have a lingering aftertaste of caramel and toffee. And I've never had that happen before, but then again, this recipe called for Crystal 60, which I've never used. I use Crystal 40 a lot, and when I'm making a lighter color beer, I'll use a Crystal 15 or like a Cara Munich, or even like Carahel. So for lighter colored beers, but I mean on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd probably have to give this a 7. Okay, would I brew it again? Probably. Would I brew it back to back? Probably not. This would probably be, I'd use this recipe for like a once a year type thing. I'd brew it up for a special occasion, or like Christmas or Easter or something like that. Okay, I don't have any brews. Oh, wait. Before we get to that, after I brewed this, I brewed a pre-hopped extract kit. That's my usual MO. When it comes to brewing, I've got 2 corny kegs. So I do an all grain, put that in 1 keg, and then I do a kit, and I put that in my second keg. And the reason for that is, I mean, all grains taste great. You've just got depth of flavor and mouthfeel and what I call character that you can't really achieve all that much with a kit. But after you spend 5 hours doing an all grain beer, it's a real joy to make a batch of beer in 20 minutes from start to finish. And as far as kits go, okay, I think it's a real shame how, there's more than a few homebrewers who look down upon using kits to make beer, are very patronizing of people that do kits. Excuse me. And I mean, honestly, there's really no need or reason for it. You can make really good beers in kits. And I mean, I don't really have to tell you guys that, because all you guys out there who do kits know that you can make good beer with a kit. And it doesn't really matter how you do it either, guys. I mean, you can just do your standard kit and kilo. You can do the 5 and 7 method. You can make your hop tea. You can use fresh grains and steep them. No matter how you want to make them, that's pretty much how you do it. You have to figure out what kind of brewing fits for you. If you live in a small apartment, if you don't have a whole lot of time, if you don't have the budget for huge self-circulating beer setups with the big Starship Enterprise looking control panel on the side with all the blinking lights and the buttons and the key switches, then what you do is kits. And I mean, you can really make good beers with kits. So for anybody out there who does kits, don't listen to all the snotty guys bitching about kits being inferior beers. Okay, I do all grains. I also do kits. I don't do extracts with steeping grains, and I don't do mini mashes, because I figure with kits and all grain, I've got the whole spectrum covered. And I mean, yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Alright, it's not my first beer, guys. So, yeah, I mean, you brew the way that's convenient for you, and honestly, you're brewing the beer for you. And if you do a certain method and it works for you with your time constraints and your space constraints and your budget constraints, and you like the way it turns out, then who cares? If the snotty all-grain brewer down the street who only brews beers to go into a competition, who cares what he says? Honestly, now that's all I'm going to say about that, because I can sit here for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the entire night, and just, bitch, basically, about people patronizing the way that you do things. I mean, if they want to, you know, grow their own hops, if they want to crush their own grains, if they want to spend 4 hours making a recipe and, you know, cultivate their own yeast and all that, that's fine. But if that doesn't work for you, then, you know, that's fine too. Don't do it. Alright, now a couple of things I got going on, or that I'm planning on doing, is I'm going to do a 1 gallon batch of a mead. Actually, I don't know if you can call it a mead, because I don't plan on making it with honey. I plan on making it with maple syrup. Pure, grade A, amber maple syrup. From Vermont or Massachusetts. I don't think it matters really where it comes from, as long as it's pure maple syrup. And I've been thinking about doing that for a while. A mead in general. But what's been holding me back is how long it takes. I mean, meads, they're not like normal wines. I mean, I can make a fruit wine and, you know, put it in a bucket, stirring it, you know, slightly twice a day, and then 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, rack it into a carboy, leave it alone for a month and a half. Rack it into another carboy, degas it, add my clearing agents. 2 days later I can bottle it, and even though it's young, that wine tastes pretty good. So I can drink it right away, or I can store it down in my basement and let it age for 1 month or 2 months, 6 months, okay, or a year. But, I mean, meads take forever. They take like 3 months or something like that to ferment out, and that's just the primary fermentation, and then you got the secondary fermentation, blah blah blah. So basically, like, if I made a mead today, it would be a year at least before it would even be ready to bottle. And I mean, honestly, I never wanted to, you know, wait that long, and I didn't want to tie up any of my equipment for that long. But I've decided I am going to make a mead with the maple syrup. It's only going to be a gallon batch, and I mean, 1 gallon demijohns at my homebrew supply store are $5. So I've already got 2 of them, but I'll buy a third one, and I'll buy, you know, another drilled stopper and an airlock to go with it, and I will make it, and, you know, I'll put it under the basement stairs, and I'm gonna forget about it, and I'm just gonna let it do its thing, and I will leave it there for as long as it takes. Right? I'm probably not even gonna look at it for 6 months, to tell you the truth. Alright, oh, another thing that I have, I would like to give a shout out to Dinos and congratulate him on his recent graduation to All Grain. As a fellow brew tuber, I'm really excited about that. Alright, I always like to see guys grow and expand their brewing repertoire, so to speak. And I will be anxiously waiting for other videos on your all grain brews and the taste tests of your all grains. Now I know you've got your brown ale, which turned out wonderful. Right, that gets a hey buddy. So anyway, good job, Dino. Keep up the good work, and I'll be looking forward to those videos. Oh, and if you're not already subscribed to him, besides being a good home brewer, he also seems like a really cool guy, so check out his channel, watch his videos, by all means subscribe, leave comments, and thumb up his videos. And well, shit, that's pretty much all I got going on this week for you guys. Okay, thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for subscribing. I'm coming up on 100 right now, and I mean 3 months ago I had 27. So yeah, thanks for subscribing. You know, I really appreciate it. I never even thought I would ever have as many subscribers as I already have. So remember to leave comments. Okay, if I have time, I try to answer all the comments, and I try to watch all the videos of the people that I subscribe to, because, you know, as I stated in another video, BrewTubers, who are like the largest homebrew club in the world, and I mean, honestly, the only reason we're here is to support and encourage other people to brew on, so to speak. So anyway, I don't want this video to be too much longer than it already is. My last video was 33 minutes, and all I have to say about that is, one, I wish I was better at explaining things, and two, I wish I could do it in less time. But it's a neighbor's dog, Tucker. He's about this big, and he's a pain in the ass. I mean, the funniest thing I could do is probably pick him up and put a little harness on him with a key sticking out of the back, you know, like a little wind-up toy. Anyway, guys, I hope your week this far has been good. I hope the rest of your week can be even better. Till the next video, take care of yourselves. Cheers, and 17.